In a corner of the world few maps dare to show, there is a land called Gloomwood. It is a place where the sun is always shy. The sky is often a bruised shade of purple or a gloomy grey. Tall, twisted trees reach up like skeletal fingers, their leaves whispering secrets to the wind. The ground is covered in a carpet of moss, soft and damp, which muffles the sound of footsteps. This makes it very easy to be startled, a word which here means to jump out of your skin because a goblin sneezed behind you. It is not a cheerful place, but it is certainly an interesting one, filled with strange sights and even stranger sounds. At the very heart of Gloomwood, perched atop the tallest, craggiest hill, stands the Palace of the Dark Lord. It is a magnificent and terrifying sight. The palace is called Castle Nocturne. Its towers are sharp and pointy, like the fangs of a giant beast. They scrape against the clouds, daring them to rain. The walls are made of smooth black stone that seems to drink the little light that reaches it. No cheerful ivy grows on these walls. Instead, a thorny vine with dark purple flowers wraps around the castle, protecting it with its sharp barbs. The windows are tall and narrow, glowing with a faint, mysterious light from within. The path leading to Castle Nocturne is not a friendly one. It is a winding cobblestone road, uneven and treacherous. Gnarled roots from the ancient trees often push the stones out of place, creating traps for unwary travelers. On either side of the path, strange glowing mushrooms sprout in clusters, casting an eerie light. They pulse with soft colors, from a sickly green to a ghostly blue. These mushrooms are said to hum a low, sad tune if you listen closely, a melody that can make you feel quite melancholic, which is a fancy word for terribly sad and a bit droopy. The air around the castle hums with a quiet, powerful energy. It is a feeling you get on your skin, like the static before a lightning storm. This is the magic of the Dark Lord, a constant, unseen presence that hangs over the entire land of Gloomwood. It is in the rustle of the leaves, the howl of the wind through the castle towers, and the silent ripples on the surface of the murky moat that surrounds the palace. This magic is what makes Gloomwood what it is, a place of deep shadows, enchanting mysteries, and the ever-present feeling that something extraordinary and possibly unpleasant is about to happen. Gloomwood is not an empty land. Oh no, it is quite crowded if you know where to look. Living amongst the twisted trees are the fairies. But these are not the sparkly, giggling fairies you read about in cheerful storybooks. Gloomwood fairies have wings like moths, dusty and patterned with dark, intricate designs. They glow with a faint silvery light, like a dying star. They are mischievous creatures, fond of playing tricks like tying your shoelaces together or whispering riddles that have no answer. They live in hollow logs and under the roots of the oldest trees, their homes decorated with dewdrops and spider silk. Deeper in the woods, where the shadows are thickest, you will find the trolls and goblins. The trolls are large, lumbering beings made of rock and moss. They are very strong but not very bright, and they spend most of their days sleeping or arguing with rocks. The goblins, on the other hand, are small, wiry, and clever. They have large ears and even larger noses, and they are excellent at tinkering with shiny objects they find. Goblins and trolls often live near each other, a situation which can be described as a constant state of noisy disagreement, mostly because goblins enjoy teasing trolls until they roar in frustration. In the swampy parts of Gloomwood, where the fog never lifts, live the witches. They reside in crooked huts that stand on stilts above the bubbling mud. These witches are experts in potions and spells. They cackle a lot, as witches are expected to do, and stir large bubbling cauldrons filled with things you probably would not want in your soup. They are neither good nor evil, but simply chaotic. They might turn you into a frog for stepping on their favorite toadstool, or they might give you a potion to cure your hiccups. You never quite know what you are going to get with the Gloomwood witch. And then there are the vampires. The vampires of Gloomwood are elegant and ancient. They live in the forgotten crypts and cellars beneath the forest floor, only emerging at night. They speak in soft, hypnotic voices and dress in fine, albeit dusty, silks and velvets. Unlike the others, the vampires rarely interact with the trolls or goblins, whom they find terribly uncivilized. They prefer the company of the witches, with whom they trade ancient secrets, or the Dark Lord himself, who is the only one they consider their equal. They are creatures of grace and shadow, adding a touch of old-world dread to the land. The various creatures of Gloomwood do not often mingle. It is a complicated social scene, a phrase which here means everyone tries to avoid everyone else. The fairies think the trolls are dreadfully clumsy. The trolls think the goblins are annoyingly loud. The goblins think the witches are spooky, and everyone is a little bit wary of the vampires, who have a habit of staring at your neck for a bit too long. They live in a state of grumpy tolerance, like cousins at a family reunion who have nothing in common. They share the same dark forest, but they keep to their own territories and their own peculiar business. However, all of them, from the smallest goblin to the oldest vampire, have one thing in common: their relationship with the Dark Lord. He is their ruler, their landlord, and the source of the magic that permeates their world. They do not see him often, for he rarely leaves his dark palace. Yet, they feel his presence always. He communicates his wishes through whispers on the wind or messages written in frost on a window pane. The goblins bring him shiny things, the witches brew special potions for him, and the trolls guard the outer edges of his domain with a grumpy sense of duty. The Dark Lord is powerful, and that is why they respect him. His magic is older and deeper than any other in Gloomwood. It is said he can command the shadows to dance and turn the rain into ink. He can hear a whisper from across the forest and see through the eyes of the crows that sit on the castle battlements. This power makes him frightening, of course. No one wants to be on the wrong side of someone who can turn them into a garden gnome. It is a fear that keeps the peace, a sort of enforced politeness among the otherwise quarrelsome creatures of the woods. But there is more to the Dark Lord than just fear. He is also mysterious, and that makes him interesting. No one knows where he came from or how old he truly is. The vampires claim he was ancient when they were young. The witches whisper that he is not a person at all, but the forest's dark heart-given form. He is known to have a library filled with books in languages no one else can read, and to play haunting melodies on a grand organ that can be heard throughout the valley on stormy nights. This mystery makes him more than just a scary monster. It makes him a living legend. One day, a strange thing happened in Gloomwood. The magic of the land began to fade. The glowing mushrooms flickered and went dark. The witches' potions refused to bubble, turning into a thick, useless sludge. The fairies' wings lost their silvery sheen, and they found they could barely hover above the ground. Even the air felt different, thinner and emptier. A silence fell over the forest, a heavy and unnatural quiet that was far more unsettling than the usual cacophony of goblin arguments and troll roars. A problem had arrived, and it was a problem for everyone. The source of the trouble was the ancient whispering willow, the oldest tree in Gloomwood. For centuries, its roots had drunk from a hidden spring of pure magic, sharing it with the entire land. But now, the willow was sick. Its leaves, once a vibrant dark green, were turning a brittle, lifeless brown. Its whispers, which usually told tales of the past, now spoke only of a creeping emptiness. A blight, a terrible sickness of magic, was consuming the tree from its roots up. And as the willow faded, so did the magic of Gloomwood and the power of the Dark Lord himself. For the first time in centuries, the creatures of Gloomwood came together. The fairies, trolls, goblins, witches and vampires all gathered at the foot of the dying willow. They bickered at first, as was their habit. The goblins blamed the witches blamed the trolls, and the trolls just wanted to go back to sleep. But their fear was greater than their distrust. They knew that without the land's magic, their world would wither and die. It was then that the great black doors of Castle Nocturne creaked open, and the Dark Lord emerged, his shadowy form moving with a new and worrying slowness. He stood before them, his presence less intimidating than usual, a fact that scared them more than anything. He explained that the willow's blight could only be cured by a single tear of pure joy, a thing unheard of in a gloomy land like theirs. The task seemed impossible. But as they looked at each other, at the worried faces of fairies, the confused expressions of trolls, the scheming yet concerned looks of goblins, and the stoic fear of the vampires, they realized they were all in this together. And so, the great quest began, an unlikely alliance of grotesque creatures and their dark ruler, searching not for treasure or power, but for a single, precious teardrop of happiness to save their home.